7:01, and at this time I'm going to call the meeting to order. Just a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the township website in the next few days through YouTube, through our YouTube channel. So I just want to welcome everyone to the May 24th meeting of the North Coventry Township Board of Supervisors. My name is Jim Marks and I serve as chairman of the board. Present this evening on this Zoom meeting with me are Vice Chairman Rick Sheeler and Supervisors Rebecca Elliott and Harvey Greenwald. Also joining us is our Township Manager Erica Badorf and Township Solicitor Dan Sager. In the packet this past Friday was the draft of the meeting minutes from May 10th, 2021. Do I have any corrections on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 10th, 2021?
So moved.
Rick makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Rebecca seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the minutes pass. And I do see Spencer coming in, so just bear with me for 1 second.
Hi, Jim. Can you hear me?
Hi, Spencer. Yeah. Hi, Spencer. How are you? We already, we've started the meeting only just did the meeting minutes. So we're going to move on to accounts payable. Since our last meeting, we have unpaid bills totaling $25,966 and a list of paid bills and payroll totaling $174,431. Do I have any questions on the bills from the board?
No.
Any comments from the public on the bills? The list of these bills was posted to the township website over the weekend for public review. If anybody would like to ask a question pertaining to the bills, please unmute yourself, identify yourself, and ask your question now. Hearing none. Do I have a motion to authorize the paying the unpaid bills of $25,966 and acknowledging the paid bills and payroll totaling $109,777?
So moved.
Rick makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Spencer seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the bills are paid and acknowledged. Developers bills. Anybody have any comments or questions on the developers bills? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is a presentation from the North Coventry Municipal Authority. This is a presentation on behalf of the authority pertaining to a request to reissue the 2012 general obligation bonds for sewer system improvements. As some of you may know, these are township bonds. The authority entered into a subsidy agreement with the township in 2012, whereby the authority confirmed that all debt would be paid by the authority through sewer revenue. The total amount of the original bond issue was $7.8 million, and the balance currently remaining is $3.9 million. The authority is requesting to borrow an additional $1.5 million for additional improvements and refinancing to take advantage of lower interest rates. So at this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to the authority, and I'm going to monitor our time here. I ask that you try to move things along, and please forgive me if I jump in to try to move things along. I saw your presentation had 20 slides, so hopefully we can get through those fairly quickly. And I'm going to also ask whoever is speaking on behalf of the authority, please identify yourself and give your company if appropriate. So who's going to speak on behalf?
So, Mr. Chairman, my name is Greg Phillips. I'm a solicitor for the North Coventry Municipal Authority. And tonight, Mr. Michael Wolf of Benning and Scattergood will be providing you with the presentation. And I know that Chairman Malloy and Vice Chair Holman, as well as our authority engineer, Daryl Jenkins, is on the line if there are any questions from the board. So with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Wolf to make the presentation to the board.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The board packet this month contained quite a few attachments, some of which are just for your perusal, but a couple of which I'd like to speak to. I think you've seen the presentation booklet dated April 28th. Do you have access to that? Can you see the presentation booklet?
Page 7 is where
Yes,
you'd
please.
like me to start?
Yes, please. See page 7 with that yellow highlighting. That's the real reason that we're here tonight, because lower interest rates would allow us, if we chose to, refinance the 2012 bonds, and we could save in the far right column $23,000 or $25,000 a year from 2021 through 2027. The gross savings over the life is $175,000, but we normally talk about it in present day dollars, which is $170,000, or about 4.3% of the $3.9 million of old bonds that are outstanding. GFOA and other advisors suggest anything over 2% savings is good. So at 4.3%, you're twice the going average for level of interest. So that's, I think, why the authority asked me to look into refinancing the prior 2012 bonds. However, we never do a refunding alone without asking the question, would this be a good time to simultaneously add new money for projects, because you're already paying the fixed costs of issuance, which we can talk about later if you like. So let's skip ahead to page 7. You see that we're going to add in the center column $1.5 million of new money for a project that we can talk about involving the pumping stations. But I'll skip ahead a little bit to the next page, page 6, where you see in green that borrowing enough to finance that project would cost on the order of about $165,000 a year from 2022 through 2031, because the authority has determined that the useful life of the equipment to be installed at the pumping stations is at least 10 years. So perhaps not as long-lived as some sewer infrastructure involving pipe, but definitely long-lived enough to justify borrowing at fixed rates for 10 years. So the bond issue will be a combination of the refunding, which will consume about $3.9 million worth of bonds, and the new money, which will consume about $1.485 million worth of bonds, for a total bond issue on the order of, call it $5.385 million plus or minus, depending on how things go as we market the bonds about a month from now. People are often interested in the upfront costs of issuance. Most of the costs are fixed and they're the lower ones. They don't depend on the size of the issue. You pay those costs pretty much every time you issue bonds. In this case, we're estimating that to be on the order of about $70,000. And then there's variable rate costs, which depend on the size of the issue. And they add another 60-some thousand. So the total cost of issuance is about 130,000. And that's why we ask, is there anything else going on that we should take care of at this time? And yet the savings that's derived is net after paying those upfront costs of issuance, which is another frequently asked question. So if you look at page 10, I think that might be the last slide we have to look at. This clearly shows, I think, graphically, the difference in the rates, the green rate at the top is the rate that you are currently paying on these bonds and being reimbursed by the authority. And the red dotted line at the bottom is where we expect the interest rates to be. And the difference between the red and the green is what's producing the 170,000 net. I checked today, even though this booklet's about a month old, the interest rates today are virtually the same as they were a month ago. That's not always the case, but they haven't changed enough to impact any of the slides. So I think the best thing for me is to pause there. I won't give you a whole other discussion about what's in the booklet about how these rates are close to being the lowest rates in 60 years, et cetera, et cetera. That's all there for you to read for yourself, but I think we should reserve some time for your questions.
Does the board have any questions?
Now, is this a fixed interest rate for the length of the bond period?
Yes, sir. There's no opportunity for the rate to reset higher or lower, but like a lot of bonds that are issued in blocks of less than 10 million, the bonds will be prepayable by you at your option after 5 years.
With no penalty?
No penalty.
Okay, thanks.
And all the debt is continuing to come from sewer revenue. There's no cost to the township for this.
That's right. And that new money cost of $167,000 or $165,000 a year will be offset by the savings of $25,000 at least through 2027, after which, the authority will not have that savings and will, have to come up with a little bit more. But apparently, according to the people I've spoken to and the engineer, this project is overdue, and the parts that are being replaced are well beyond their expected useful life.
So the new payment's going to be 175. What was the old payment? Do you know offhand?
Well, hang on. The new payment on the refunding portion is going to be 600, let's say, which is 26,000 less than before. And the new payment on the new money will be 165,000 or so, not in year 2021, but in the subsequent years thereafter. So the payment on the old is less, but there is a payment on the new.
Okay, thank you.
And just to be clear, maybe to the benefit of someone on this call, the reason the sewer authority has to come to the township is because the township owns the sewer authority. So we're the entity that the sewer authority has to go through to get these bonds, correct? They can't do it on their own. Do I
Well,
understand that correctly?
technically, it's possible. They could do it on their own, but it would be quite a leap because they haven't issued in the past and they don't have a credit history. And no matter how much information and description we presented to the potential bondholders, they would demand a higher interest rate from the authority than they would from the parent township,
Right.
because the township is viewed as being, gold-plated credit with the ability to raise taxes if necessary.
Right.
The township is guaranteeing, basically.
That's how
Right,
that's how it is sometimes described, but not in this transaction. These are the
Right.
township's bonds backed by the full faith, credit, and taxing power of the township. They're called general obligation bonds. They are the safest bonds you can have. That's why all kinds of people want these bonds, even in this low interest rate environment.
And the township can't, the authority can't finance just the capital improvement they want to do. It wouldn't make sense to do it that way.
No, I think
Other than the savings, I get that part, but just the
issue for just the new money portion alone 1.4 or $1.5 million, awfully small, and would have to carry all those costs of issuance by itself. As it is now, those costs, we saw on page 5, those costs are shared on a prorated basis between the two purposes. And it's the dog is the refunding, and the tail of the dog is the new money. Now, I will mention this. The township would be fully within its rights and justification for it to add its own new money for township-only projects. But I spoke to Erica, and she said, you're pretty much up to speed and up to date, and there isn't a wish list of unfunded capital projects. You did recently borrow.
Yeah, we did discuss that, and
Right.
we just recently had the Public Works building, and I think there's a feeling that we feel more comfortable not commingling this money. It'd be better.
Well, I just want you to know, I understand about what you're saying, but if I were asked to add in any township projects, you would get your own payment schedule, and you would have your own books and records, and you could see your semi-annual payments of principal and interest separate from any authority related. But the important thing is you could do it. There's plenty of room to do it before you even get anywhere near the $10 million cap that we're trying to stay under in a calendar year. If you stay under 10 million, you get better interest rates because banks get favorable treatment for buying and holding these bonds. They're called bank qualified bonds, but
for the sake,
there's plenty of room, but the township doesn't have the need. So I think.
Right. And for the sake of time, I mean, I'm looking at your time schedule, which essentially is starting tonight.
Yeah.
We would not have the time to incorporate any project that we would do within your time schedule. So.
Okay, I understand.
Dan, do you have any additional questions or concerns on this?
I do not. We had a meeting with Mr. Phillips, and I'm satisfied.
And Erica, as I understand it, a bunch of this work falls on you as far as preparing documentation. Do you have any comments or concerns about what you're required to do?
I'll work with staff at the authority and our staff. We do have to compile a number of data sets and information. So I have worked with Mike Wolf before, so I understand the game plan that needs to be followed moving forward here. We can certainly, handle it. It will take resources. There's no doubt about it. And but I do believe the merits of the project are sound. And I did review the capital plan, as Dan had mentioned, with Greg Phillips, and that was produced by the authority.
And Mr. Phillips, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, we'd really like the board to consider our request. One thing though, and I think your solicitor will most likely speak to you on this, is the appointment of bond counsel. Since it's your bonds, it would be in your court to appoint bond counsel. And we floated some names, and Mr. Sager can certainly talk to you about an appropriate choice that will work with Mr. Wolf to get these bonds placed.
Okay, thank you. Dan, is this right for a motion this evening?
It could be. If you certainly have the information. We've certainly reviewed the information. The resolutions have been prepared. So yes, it can be with the, it's ready for a vote.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Given there's a savings value with this, can we assume that there will be no increases in our quarterly bills from the authority for some time?
Mr. Malloy or Mr. Holman, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, obviously, we just went through our yearly budgeting process, and it doesn't appear at this point in time that there would be any significant increase, if any at all, at least over the next year. Obviously, you know, these projects that we're looking at for the new money are quite important at this point in time. A lot of the dollars are going to new programmable logic controllers in the pump stations that are way out of date and no longer supported, as well as upgrading to some current code requirements that really need to be addressed. So, you know, the bulk of the money would be for those projects, and we really feel that it's necessary at this point in time to move on those. And to do that, we obviously need the bond issuance.
Thanks, Jay. Any other questions from the board?
Just a comment. I think this would be if you're going to do it, the best time to, with the rates the way they are. And we have to, you know, be cognizant that things don't last forever. Things do have to be replaced and updated. So with that said, I think this is the best time.
Okay. I don't have specific wording for a motion. Dan, is there something you would like to see worded for the motion?
You're seeking a motion to approve the refinancing of the North Coventry Municipal Authority financing, including the current balance due as well as the capital improvements as described in the presentation.
With the cost of being handled through the sewer revenue.
Correct.
Somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Rick makes the motion. Harvey seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the board approves the motion. So gentlemen, you have your first step, I guess, and a lot of work to do now.
Thank you very much. I look forward to working with the authority in the township.
Thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate you coming this evening.
Do you wish to discuss bond counsel, or do you want to deal with that?
That's your call. If you think it's right for discussion this evening, no time like the present.
I think it is.
I did too.
The proposal is bond using Fox Rothschild as the bond counsel. They're certainly involved with many of these projects, especially in the local matter. As long as it's understood that there's a cap, Eric and I had discussed that we want to make sure there is a cap. It looks like the cap should be no more than $7,000 is what the proposed dollars are. I don't foresee it being even 7,000. Frankly, it shouldn't be.
Gentlemen, that's not correct.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. But if you look at page 9, bond counsel, I estimated at 23,000.
Okay.
Possibly more. The other number you're looking at was a solicitor number.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess that is my concern, and maybe you can help us with that. I'm concerned on behalf of the township of the dollars, not the qualifications, but the dollars. Is there any way that they're going to be willing to accept a cap?
Yes, they always accept a cap. They give you a number in advance that will not be exceeded. I can't tell you what it is. But
okay.
They don't work without a cap, and they also work 100% like I do on a risk basis, which means if we don't get it done, they don't get anything. And that's
and they have to promote what their cap is. Obviously, as part of the financing, they have to.
Oh no, you'll you'll know shortly after you ask them if they'll do the work, you'll know what the cap is.
So if we're saying it's estimated a certain amount currently, would the vote be contingent upon not to exceed that amount?
I wouldn't recommend that because I am using an estimate based on my experience in Chester County. Why don't we see where they come in and how that compares and how we like the number?
Well, then does it make sense for me maybe to talk to a couple to make sure that we know where we are and then bring this back to the next meeting? That my concern is there's going to be, I don't want the township paying more than what maybe it has to pay.
Let me tell you a story quickly. Your neighbor, East Coventry, is in the process of doing bonds. Their old bond counsel has passed away. They went out asked for proposals from 3 well-known firms, and the prices were within $500 of each other. And also consistent with my estimate, within my estimate. So I don't know if you need to go out. I think you can just go to the firm you want, hear what they have to say, and talk to them. You know, make sure you're getting what you want.
I guess my concern is once that we've committed with the firm, do we have the ability to do what East Coventry was able to do and get within $500?
I don't know for sure, but I think maybe you should direct that we approach the solicitors, and I approach the firm you want and open up discussions and only come back to you if we aren't within the range of where we want to be.
And that range is around the $25,000.
That's right.
Okay.
I can do a lot of work without them, but at a certain point I need them. As soon as we start putting ads in the paper and all, I can't do it. They can.
Okay, so the motion would be that we engage in conversations with Fox Rothschild to act as bond counsel for an amount not to exceed $25,000. And that we would come back to the board if it were to exceed $25,000.
Right, and we might not tell them what our max is. We might see what their opening.
No, but the board has to give authority to us as to what we're going to.
That's
do.
right. No, that's all right.
Hey,
Okay.
Jim, would you entertain a question from the public?
Sure.
So, yeah, that number is obviously included in the cost of issuance, the $130,000, the bond counsel.
Yes.
And of the 1.5 million that is proposed in new money, does that include the $130,000? Or is that over and above what is that being asked to borrow in new money?
I think it's over and above.
Well, what's happening is shown quite well on page 5. And the bigger project pays 3/4 of the bond counsel fee, and the smaller project pays 1/4, let's say. And that's true for all of the expenses that add up to the 130,000.
But that's all part of the new money being asked for, the 1.5 million. It has nothing to do with refinancing old debt, correct?
That's right. Okay. But I just want you to understand that the 1.5 million, right, is only going to have to pay for its share of the costs. The 1.5 million is only going to pay 20, 31, 36 about 37,000 of the total is paid out of the new money portion.
When you refinance the 3.9 million, there's a 4.3% savings by refinancing. If you look going forward, the cost of debt for the old debt that was issued and the new debt being issued, how does that compare to what's being paid now in capital expenditures? Not capital expenditures, but expenditures due to debt.
Okay, let me see if I can help you with that. The debt being paid by the authority right now, let's call it 600. It averages about 625,000 per year. The debt that's going to be paid is going to be 600 for the refunded bonds, $600,000 a year, plus 165 for the new money. So it's going to go from about 625 to 765.
Okay. And I think just to Rebecca's earlier question, the 765 payment, how is that going to impact the users that do end up paying for it in the long run?
I am not prepared to answer that tonight because I don't know enough about the existing rates and the structure of the rates. The debt service on the existing bonds is going down in 2021. It's going down by 25,000, and the new money cost in the first year is only $11,000 of interest. There is no principal due because you won't have placed the new projects into service.
Right. But I guess earlier you said that there was $175,000 in savings over, I don't know if it was 7 years or.
It's exactly, it's over 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But all that was standing, you're going from paying, I understand you're borrowing more money for much needed projects. You're going from $625,000 in debt payment per year to $765,000. And I understand you're saving money and you're making capital improvements. But I think the question is, you have $140,000 a year more in debt payment. And I'm just curious as to how that impacts the user.
I think it's a good question. I don't have the information in front of me to answer it.
All right. Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Bill. Any other
Thank you,
public
Bill.
comment? Any other public comment on this? Okay. So, Dan, how are we moving forward?
So what I would propose is that council communicates with Fox Rothschild with respect to being bond counsel, and that their fee would not to exceed a certain amount. If you don't want to put it in the minutes, I'm proposing $25,000. And if we come back to you if it's greater than $25,000. I think you put it out there anyway, so frankly, I think it should be understood that there's a set amount, and the amount sounds like it's between 20, 23 and 25 anyway, so I think that's understood, and if they can't do that, I need to come back to you anyway.
Okay. I think it's fine. It should be in the motion. This is a recorded meeting. It's
Right.
People out there have heard it already, so I'm comfortable with it being in the motion. Does somebody want to make that motion?
So moved.
Rick makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Spencer seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Motion
Nay.
passes. I'm sorry, Rebecca, 1 against. It's 4-1. Very good. All right. Thank you all for for attending and for this presentation. And at this time, we're gonna move on unless anybody has any last comments. Okay, we have nothing under subdivision and land development. Old business. We do have some old business. We have a COVID protocol update. The manager included in our packet some recommendations pertaining to township guidelines, considering all the recent changes coming through the CDC in the last couple of weeks. Eric, I'm going to ask you to present those recommendations so that we can discuss them either individually or collectively.
Certainly. Okay, I know there's been quite a bit of change again with vaccinations increasing and, again, the CDC guidelines being updated. We have had the township building closed to the public for some time. So one of my recommendations at this point is we have many employees and individuals now undergoing and having their vaccinations, reopening the township building. We can do that and reopen our vestibule at our front office and continue to process applications and all the necessary forms that we have through electronic means as well, and using our Dropbox. I think that those items have been well received regardless, but that would be my first recommendation, to take care of that. And then also, we have been using Zoom for some time and our virtual meeting presence. And this is a topic that many municipalities and school districts, public agencies are, managing the transition back, to in-person environment. And, I have definitely corresponded with managers and how everyone is handling that, and that transition back, a hybrid environment, maintaining the virtual environment for some time. Right now, as far as the declaration of emergency for the governor, Governor Wolf had extended that last week. And that is for an undetermined amount of time. And I think given the election, primary election and the referendum, there will be some additional guidance coming out regarding the just managing the declaration and how that's going to work for the governor's office, and that information for Act 15 that allows the township to continue with our virtual presence for meetings. So at this time, I would say let's take the next 2 to 3 weeks and evaluate that information as we get additional guidance, see how townships are also transitioning and moving back to in-person public meetings. And then we have a number of events. Good to see people are starting to begin programs, and a number of different events and recreational programs people enjoy. And right now, the CDC for the outdoor environment for vaccinated persons, the guidance, and even with the governor's office at this point, for May 31st, we'll be lifting mitigation measures. So in providing guidance to our commissions and boards, that we would recommend with any of those programs to have those protocols in place. And as far as mask wearing for vaccinated persons, to allow no masking. I understand that has been a topic of some discussion. So those are the items I wanted to bring up this evening, and certainly open for feedback.
Well, I think we should open the office back up. And I think it'd be nice to get back to in-person meetings. That way we see everybody that's there. And I think it's a little bit more personal when you can talk face to face with people.
Anybody else? Well, anything from the public? Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to.
Jim?
Yes, John.
Yeah. I agree. I'm certainly looking forward to being able to do programs, outside with people unmasked. One of the things that I've noticed in this age of Zoom is for these Board of Supervisors meeting, you've had really impressive participation. You've had more members of the public, more residents who tune in to the Zoom meetings than would attend in person. I would really encourage the board to consider if we could, have the in-person meetings, but also with some sort of a remote option. And I think you'll get better attendance. I think you'll be better tied into the public and to the North Coventry residents if they have that option. I mean, that's what I've seen over the past year.
Erica's had this conversation with other municipalities, and Erica, you want to share some of the stuff that you've learned? I mean, is this something that we've considered? It does become a challenge because audio becomes really difficult to navigate when you have a bunch of people in a room and a bunch of people online, and you can't have multiple microphones, and everybody can't be on a laptop. So it really becomes a technical challenge. And I know, Erica, you had talked to some others, and what have you learned?
Right. There's some equipment out there, setups with webcam, and audio is the biggest issue, just as you had stated. And so we're all sharing the information of how these things are going, and it will take some resources, financial resources, to acquire the technology, and also have a person really dedicated to help troubleshoot during meetings. I mean, that's truly what it comes down to. So it's an evaluation of the cost and what is required. So I have a few specifications I'm looking at just to be educated on the subject. But what I've garnered is that trying to do anything with a number of laptops or the setup, it's a challenge. I mean, frankly, that's what it is. But I understand the comments for sure.
Yeah, no, I certainly understand, Erica. And certainly at my work, we do a lot of video conferencing, audio conferencing. And I mean, I think we could consider just doing an audio conferencing from, for example, the meeting room there at the township office. I mean, I think that would certainly, for me anyway, satisfy the need, and I think help people get more connected and more involved. So sort of one good quality speakerphone and a central line that people can dial into to hear what's going on. I don't think we really need video for every supervisor or every participant in the room, but as long as we could hear what's happening, I think that would help keep the engagement as high as it has been, as we've done the Zoom meetings.
All right, thanks, John. We'll continue to look into it and relay what we learned, because everybody's going through the same thing, asking the same questions right now. So we'll check back. Anybody else public comment on this?
Hello, it's Todd Lawrence. I just want to reiterate what John said. I think that's a good idea. Audio is a lot easier, and the technology's there. There wouldn't be issues. So I would ask you guys to all definitely consider that, and it's probably a good option to go. Video is not necessary, but John, good idea. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Anybody else? Last call. Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the COVID-19 protocols as presented by the manager?
So moved.
Rick makes a motion. Do I have a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I didn't, Spencer Harv, I didn't hear if you voted.
Yes.
Okay. And Spence, I didn't hear if you had responded. I don't see him. Okay, motion passes. And we're gonna move on. Contract award for the 2020 road work. The township received only one bid last week from Asphalt Maintenance Services in the amount of $155,375. The manager and roadmaster provided a letter recommending the acceptance of this bid, which was in your packet. I'm going to open this up for discussion, but before I do, I want to give John or Erica an opportunity to comment on their recommendations and why they're recommending it, since we only had one bid.
Sure, I'll I'll kick us off here. We did receive one bid, but we felt that the scope of work was well specified. It was a competitive bid as we went through the solicitation process that we would go through for all our bid cycles, and it was not unduly restrictive. We also feel that the price was reasonable and within our budget for the scope of work. And so therefore, based on also the references in working with this contractor that John McKee has also identified, we felt comfortable with this recommendation. John, feel free to weigh in if you like.
And no, we looked at road, well, we didn't have a road tour, but we spoke several times about the condition of Temple Road from St. Peter's Road to Valley View, the lack of the profile. We looked at several different options to remedy this road as opposed to just a normal tar and chip that we do. And, I think, we're at the top end of our budget right now with this work here. And it's a lot more than what we spent on a single road in the past. So I think, we're really, trying to get the most quality and bang for our buck out of this project as we can. I feel this is, the appropriate way to address it.
Any questions from the board?
John, is there only one bid potentially because of the type of improvement we're doing to the road with the modification?
Yes.
Modified base coat we're putting down?
The one, it's kind of a specialty type material, and we also specified in the bid that we wanted one contractor to perform the whole job, to kind of eliminate problems. So there's not many, there's a few statewide local, not many local that are capable of doing this whole project themselves. And our low bidder, or only bidder, is one that is capable. So
do we have a warranty of any kind that comes with it? Since
that's our standard 1 year that we do on all our road work.
Thank you, John.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, is there a motion to award the 2021 road program contract to Asphalt Maintenance Solutions LLC in the total amount of $155,375?
So moved.
Harvey makes a motion, Rebecca seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. New business. Internet Crimes Children Task Force. Looking for an authorization to approve a memorandum of understanding with Delaware County District Attorney's Office, requesting that Tim Prouty be appointed to their Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force. It's a national network of 61 coordinated task force to engage in proactive and reactive investigation, prosecutions of persons involved in child abuse and exploitation involving the internet. If approved, Detective Prouty would be sworn in as special county detective, giving him countywide jurisdiction pertaining to ICAC. Any overtime and training required in this duty would be reimbursed through ICAC, which is the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. I guess my first question is, why Delaware County, not Chester County? Matt, Chief, you want to address that?
Sure, yeah. In Pennsylvania, the way it's set up, from my understanding, is that anything that comes in through the Internet Crimes Against Children, or the ICAC program, gets funneled through Delaware County. Delaware County then ships it out to the county agencies where the tip is originating from. So there is the district attorney's office, the county detectives here in Chester County. They are the local hub, I guess you would say, but it's under the umbrella of Delaware County. So he would be sworn in through the Chester County District Attorney's Office and not Delaware County.
And so what is required of him as part of the task force?
Well, what happens is the Chester County District Attorney's Office receives tips from the Delaware County ICAC program regarding possible abuse of children online, other types of crimes along those lines. They are developing a group of detectives throughout the county which can investigate crimes in and around the county. So what they're looking to do is to have detectives in the north and the south, and obviously Tim would here be in the north part of the county. So if something occurred in North Coventry, obviously that would fall on us. But if, say, something were to happen in East Coventry or the Vincents or anything along those lines, he would be under the direction of the Chester County Detectives Agency, and he would receive those tips. He would follow up on those investigations, and then if need be, if there were search warrants or arrest warrants to be served, or even making time to go out for interviews, if those things were necessary, those would be covered through the overtime through the ICAC program. So he would be doing some of the work here while on duty, but like I said, when it comes to the search warrants and things like that, those will be planned out with the Chester County detectives, and that would be covered under the overtime here with ICAC.
Any comments from? Go ahead, Harv.
This is Harvey. How's this going to impact your manpower requirements?
Well, I spoke to Tim about it. He is very interested in getting involved with it, and I did ask him as far as his investigations, and he said that he would make it work if it comes to a point where it's not, or it's too much. We can remove Tim from this and not have him be a part of it. But at this point in time, he thinks he'll be able to do both.
Well, personally, I think he's the man for the job. There's no doubt.
Yes, Tim is. I wouldn't recommend anybody else from the department. Tim's outstanding. Does a great job in investigations. His reports are very thorough, and I highly recommend him. And I have no doubt that if he says he can do it, he'll be able to do it.
So if he's working and he gets called for the task force during his hours that he's working, does he then build? How's that work? Does the ICAC get billed for that time?
If he gets called out, I'd have to double check on that. I don't know how that would work. If he were to be called out to do a search warrant on another in another area, maybe to help out another member of the team, I guess what it would do is he could adjust his schedule in order to do that part on the ICAC overtime, and then come back in and fill his hours in later that week.
Okay. And this is a memorandum of understanding. It's not a commitment for any period of time. It's rescindable at any point for any reason. Is that correct?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I thought yes. Yeah, we can. Yeah, Tim can be pulled back from that at any time. Yes.
Okay. Any other comments from the Board.
Just the one that I have, if this was to move forward, I would like to see the time that is spent on the task force documented so that we as the board can see just how much time is being spent and taken away from the township business. So I don't know if that could be put in our monthly report or somehow conveyed to us.
No, I will make sure it gets put in the monthly report. Yes, no doubt.
I think that's a good suggestion.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions?
I know-
from the? Oh, I'm sorry. Chief.
I was just gonna, I know when I was a part of this task force years ago, I believe at that point in time they had set in the MOU at that time about 4 hours a week that was used. In this MOU, there is no set hours, but I would say that they're kind of looking for, a couple hours every week.
I just know reading the newspaper, there's an awful lot of this going on, and there's definitely a need for it. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what the Chester County detectives are experiencing. I think at this point in time with the manpower that they have, they're just getting quite a few tips that are coming in, and they just don't have the manpower to do everything as soon as possible. So they're looking to get, like I said, other local departments getting involved and having other members being a part of this this task force to be able to help sort through the ones that can be dismissed and the ones that need to be further investigated.
Any other questions from the public for the chief on this? All right, hearing none. Hearing none, is there a motion to authorize the execution of the Delaware County Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force Memorandum of Understanding with North Coventry Police Department?
So moved.
Second.
Harvey made the motion, Spencer seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, yep, thanks, Chief. Moving on, deer management rules and regulations for 2021. The Deer Management Committee presented their 2021-2022 season rules and regulations, a copy of which was in your packet. Is John Ellwanger on the call? John, are you here? I don't see him. There was only, from what I understand, minor revisions to date and times, but essentially the same document from last year. If board have any comments or questions on the rules and regulations?
Do we know if they mirror last year's? I skimmed through them. If anything's been changed?
His report, John's report, is it's minor revisions to dates and times. That was my understanding at the meeting I attended.
Correct, yes.
Any other comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve the deer management rules and regulations for 2021 and 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Rebecca makes a motion, Harvey seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And they are approved. Erica, can you email me a copy of those?
Sure.
Have it as part of the packet, and I'll get them posted.
Okay.
Administration and managers report. Erica.
Thank you. On to a COVID update. The township, along with many municipalities and public entities, will be looking to administer relief funding that will be part of the American Rescue Plan for funding for townships. And I'm actively corresponding with variety of agencies and distilling information and guidance. The federal treasury produced official guidance regarding the different buckets that the township and other entities can use these funds for. But the guidance is to take time to evaluate that and look at, you know, all this guidance, all the accounting requirements are going to be required, certainly to administer the relief funding, and to look at that in terms of the future, because we do have until December of 2024 to use the allocation to the township. And North Coventry is at $786,000. There's 50% of that, which is $393,000, is anticipated to be received in June, July. Things are still a bit of a moving target as far as disbursement. That gets dispersed from the Treasury to the state, and the state to local governments. So we are looking at all that different information. There are portions of what you're eligible to use are related to COVID, negative impacts to the township financially, costs that were incurred prior to it in 2019 forward. So we're looking at that, eligible pay for hazard for workers, also for infrastructure related to water, sewer, broadband infrastructure, and stormwater is included. And yes, unfortunately, there's nothing for road work, but there is certainly that provides some flexibility there in terms of township infrastructure. And so we're looking at all those different opportunities, and I know that it'll take some time. So that is on our radar. We have here the Riverside Boat Dock project is moving along. We have our contract in place with Northeast Products and Services. They will be filing for necessary permits and will be coordinating a site meeting with township staff soon here. The permit requirements will take a bit more time. They're looking at anticipation with DEP of a few more months. So we'll be working with them to coordinate what needs to be done for that project. And then a financial overview for the budget performance reports ending April 30th of 2021. We are at 39% of budget for revenue, and we are at total expenses at 31% of budget. Net income for the period of $437,000. We took a look at our proprietary funds. The open space fund revenues are on track. We have expenses in our professional services, maintenance to open space for various improvements at Fernbrook Lodge, and certainly for mowing grass at our open space. And as far as liquid fuels, we have our disbursement of liquid fuels funding. We'll be ready to spend that with our new project, and have accounted for winter road maintenance. And then the DEA fund, which just has a small amount of reserve left, accounts for some expenses for the TASER program and no additional revenue anticipated. Just to give a snapshot of where we are with that first quarter of the year. And that is my report.
Thank you, Erica. Supervisors reports. Rebecca, you have anything?
No, not tonight. Thank you.
Rick, do you have anything?
There is an open space meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. I believe the instructions have been posted. If you can confirm that, Erica or Jim.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll look right now.
Yeah, it should be on the calendar. Or it will be shortly.
That's all I have.
I have Regional Planning Commission on Wednesday night. I'll report back, or I'll have Bill report back in a couple of weeks on what was covered. I have nothing else. Harv, do you have anything?
Not tonight.
Spencer, do you have anything?
Yeah, I have one quick thing. Has to do with the Historical Commission. We get requests for information from people, and I have one here. The person is asking about where the Jacob Thomas Quaker House is located in the township. The person couldn't find it. Well, the Jacob Thomas house is at 1660 St. Peter's Road, and it's just about visible from the road, but it's an important house in the township in that it was on the glass tax of 1798, and prior to that, Estelle Kremers identified Jacob Thomas as living in the township beginning in 1742. So I just wanted to make sure that got into the record, since somebody is questioning whether or not there is actually a Quaker house in the township. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Spencer. Dan, solicitor report.
Yes, I think the board was circulated with a letter from Attorney Brandt, counsel for Excursion Cider, setting forth what they, per the board's request, we did reach out, Erica and I both reached out to both the solicitor, the attorney for Excursion, and the principals themselves. They gave a more specific letter as to what their intentions are with respect to the parking, and are proposing once again that they have a staff meeting at their cost, I'm assuming. They don't state that, but it would be, I would expect. So I'm putting that out there, that they set forth how many parking spots they want. They did say they did discuss with the neighbors, and the neighbors seem to be okay with the site. And at this point, think that they're at that point where they need to have a staff conversation about the parking and their needs and the uses, and especially going forward.
Does anybody on the board have any interest in crafting an agreement with a commercial property as far as using township parking lot for their benefit? So I'm not hearing that anybody has any interest in pursuing an agreement with a developer on using our parking lot for their gain. So what's the benefit of a staff meeting if they can't get off square one?
I don't feel I have the expertise to negotiate such a deal.
Okay. Dan, anything else?
Other than what's going to be discussed at the executive meeting. Yeah, there is one thing. I think, even though this is technically litigation at this point, I do think it's been discussed in public enough. And I don't, Erica, do you know whether Bentley has finally paid the LTL, or do we need to go forward at this point?
No payment. So
Okay.
yeah, unfortunately.
So I think it does, that should be public, and to me, it's certainly been discussed, and we need to go forward. There's been many promises by council that payments were going to be made, and I think we do need to go forward with that.
What are we going forward with?
They owe LTL well, they need to reimburse us for what we paid for LTL for this subdivision review. If you recall, you gave me authority already to file a DJ action with respect to that. And I've had many communications with Mr. Baldwin and Ed with respect to it. And we're at that point now that I think we're at.
Okay, so we're the party that brings action against him for payment?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you need a motion to give you that direction, or are you gonna?
I don't think so. I think you've already done that.
Okay. All right.
I think
very
so.
good. Anything else, Dan?
No.
Okay. Public comments, portion of the meeting that we provide for public comment. If you wish to offer something as public comment, I ask that you unmute yourself, identify yourself, and offer your comment. Do I have any takers?
Hey, Jim, just briefly, at our May workshop, we had John, for the Planning Commission, we had John Weidenhammer, president of the Berks Alliance, give us a presentation with regards to reinstituting passenger rail service between Reading and eventually a link to Philadelphia Center City. And it was very informative, a lot of numbers that he presented on how it can be done. It was very interesting, and I thank Erica for finding him and presenting to the Planning Commission. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Okay,
Hi, I'd
thank you,
like
Bill.
to speak. My name is Jenna Bless. I'm here representing excursion siders in regards to requesting that parking. First of all, I just want to say thank you for considering it. I know last meeting we weren't able to join to represent ourselves or answer questions, and I hope that everyone received our letter. We are really still, I mean, I understand that the question is, what does the township have to benefit from this relationship? And I think if you reference that letter at the very end, that we are offering some vitality, and there's 4 of us that this is our backyard. We care about this community and we want to support the local business, and we hope that it's more than just the parking, and you know, we want to contribute to the Little League, and the Little League to come to us, and same with the Koi Club. And then in addition to that, the basketball courts and the pickleball and the ramp. I think there's this cohesion that's so evident to me, and I would love to express my vision to the board if we're able to schedule a staff meeting with you. I think you could. We have a lot to say, and we're very excited about it. And I really hope that we can get over the parking and find some kind of agreement. And just as a reference, there's about over 100 spaces within that 200-foot perimeter. And our request is looking for variance on that 200 feet and the number of spaces. Our peak hours would only be 9 hours a week. And for those 9 hours a week, our peak parking would be 30 spots. So again, there's over 100 spots within a walkable 200-foot distance. And we would be requesting access to 30 of those spots.
Okay, just to be clear, the staff meeting is not a meeting in front of the full board. It's a meeting that you get the opportunity to sit with and pay for our solicitor, our township manager, potential zoning officer, potentially our township engineer, maybe a board member or 2. But it's not an opportunity for you to pitch your case to the board directly. So just to be clear on that. Okay, any other public comment?
Hey, Jim.
Yeah, hey, Patty.
It's Patty Worth. I just wanted to let everybody know that the township will be sponsoring a program on Friday, June 4th, that will be presented by a naturalist from the Valley Forge Audubon Society. It's going to be held at Coventry Woods at the Fernbrook Access, and it is a night hike and exploration. So I just wanted to let everybody know that more details will be on the website and on the township's social media very shortly, I hope.
Yes, it's in my inbox. I'm looking at it now, so I'll get it posted ASAP.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. Any other public comment? Okay, hour and 20 minutes tonight. It's a long one. That's unusual for us. 29 people at the peak of our meeting. I certainly appreciate everybody joining us here this evening and participating. We are having an executive session concerning real estate and I believe litigation, or maybe both, or maybe one or the other. So at this time, I'm going to ask those who have joined us to sign off and ask our board members to sit tight until everybody has signed off. So thanks again. Wait, we're done. We're coming out of executive sessions. No actions were taken, no motions made. So at this time, I am going to adjourn the meeting without objection, and we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks. Good night, everybody.
Sayonara, y'all. How do I get out of here?
I'll get you out.